Good morning, St Katherine students, and I hope this finds you well. My name's Mr. Davis, and I'm the head of sixth form here at St Katherine. And I want to speak to you this morning about a really important issue that's been discussed a lot around the sixth form over the last few weeks since the tragic murder of Sarah Everard. The topic of today's assembly is why I'm a feminist and why you probably are as well. And as you can see on the board, there's a trigger warning that we're going to be discussing some really challenging and potentially upsetting topics today. So if you don't feel comfortable discussing those topics or hearing us talk about them, then you should maybe speak to your tutor. Be excused. The first image that I'm showing you here is a really powerful one. As a society, we need to move away from the idea that due to inbuilt sexist and misogynistic attitude to that is to protect our daughters. No, it's not. It's about providing education. It's about helping our young people to realize what sexism is, what misogyny is, what feminism is, and how we can move together towards a fairer society. So as I mentioned, this conversation that we've been having of late has been prompted, it is not based entirely within the murder of Sarah Everard. Sarah Everard was a woman in her 30s who was walking home from a friend's house in London and was murdered. It's opened up a huge amount of conversations around the way that women are viewed and treated within our society. And for me, as a man, it really started to open my eyes and open my mind to the inbuilt prejudices that women are exposed to every day. I think about my wife and I think that if I go out for a drink with some friends or go to a restaurant, I would walk home from that restaurant back to my house and wouldn't think twice about doing that. For my wife, that's a completely different process. For her, she may get my number on speed dial, ready to go, or even phone me, ready to walk. She has a rape whistle or a rape alarm in her bag. She sometimes walks with her keys between her fingers in case she's approached by a man. And it's not okay that that is normalized. It's not okay that women feel this way and are forced to make all of these different adjustments to their life. It should be the other way around. It should be men who are forced to change their behaviors, not women. This was an incredibly powerful speech given by Jess Phillips in Parliament, in which she listed the women who have been killed by men over the last year. I'll just play you a small snippet of that clip.
Since last year on this day, these are the women killed in the UK, where a man has been convicted or charged as the primary perpetrator in the case. Vanita Knoll, Tracy Kidd, Nellie Mustafa, Zahida B, Josephine K, Shadika Mohsin Patel, Maureen Kidd, Wendy Morse, Nagiba Alariki, Elsie Smith, Kelly Stewart, Gwendolyn Bound, Bruce Williams.
We won't watch the whole video, but I think the thing that makes it so striking and so distressing is the fact that that video goes on for 5 minutes. The statistics will tell you that more men are murdered each year than women. That's true, but those men are in the main part also murdered by men. Violence from men towards women is a problem. The statistics tell us that, and this is a problem that we need to speak about. And Miss Lee, I believe,
since last year on this day,
Miss Lee, who some of you will know, is now going to speak to us about sexual harassment in the UK and how the way that we speak to women is a direct correlation and a direct link to the case of Sarah Everard.
Almost every single young woman in the UK has experienced some form of misogyny throughout their lives. Misogyny is the hatred towards women and also the mistreatment of women. And there is a huge spectrum of what is encompassed in misogyny. At the one end is the murder of Sarah Everard, and at the other end are casual sexist comments, everyday objectification, and street harassment. If you want to see how common these things are, you just need to go on social media. Twitter in particular is full of stories comments, experiences that people are sharing online, which show just how common this problem is. Misogyny, everyday misogyny, is everywhere. And if you look around the women that you see in this room, the likelihood is they've all experienced it at one point or another. Now, these things, the murder of Sarah Everard and the casual sexist comments, may seem like wildly different things, but actually they're very much on the same spectrum. It's also really easy to think that these sorts of things don't happen to us, they don't happen around here, because Sarah Everard was in London, and that's miles away. But if you remember, you're probably not old enough to remember the case of Joanna Yates, which was 11 years ago last Christmas. She was living in Bristol, and she, like Sarah Everard, was just walking home.
I think as shocking as that statistic, 97% is, almost just as shocking is the response to that you can see in the comments. It is so normalized. It is so frequently not apologized for, and just accepted that this is the way that women are being treated around us. And it has to change, and that starts with us. I'm now going to hand over to our head student, Thommaset.
Hi guys, so these are pictures from a Instagram account called Catcalls of Bristol, which is based off of one called Catcalls of New York. And it's a campaign to stop street harassment where they take quotes from women who have been harassed and they draw them on the street where they were harassed. So this really just goes to show, even in a place like Bristol where some people might feel safe, it's such a widespread thing. Harassment is really everywhere. And if we go on to the next slide, we can see that harassment's everywhere in school as well. So these are quotes from students from your school. They might be people you know. And as Miss Lee said, misogyny is a spectrum. And harassment at school might seem like one small end of that spectrum, but if it goes unchallenged or unpunished or uncalled out, then it can escalate into something so much bigger. So if you just take the time to read these quotes.
Thank you, Steph. So, what I'm here to speak to you about today is feminism. Now, feminism has become for a lot of people actually a dirty word. It's become a word with a lot of negative connotations around it. People often hear that word feminism, they think of women fighting for more rights than men, women fighting to have more power than what men have in society. But that's really not what feminism means. Feminism is simply the belief in and advocacy of the political, economic, and social equality of the sexes. Equality of the sexes, expressed especially between organized activity. Feminism is not about women having more power than men. It's about women and men having equal power. Now, I've heard people say, well, why do we need it in 2021? You know, we're not looking at laws that we've had in the past whereby inequality is written into the laws of the land. Those have pretty much all been eroded by now, if not all. However, it is clear, objectively clear, that there are still a huge amount of social inequalities that negatively affect women. We've just seen some examples now. Casual sexist attitudes around school, around the workplace, in society in general. The wage gap still exists. Men are still paid more than women, and there are outdated gender roles everywhere. And I'm a man saying this. Men need feminism too, not just because we want to see equality for all people, but because in a society where feminism has had its desired impact, where we have equality, things like toxic masculinity will dissolve. Unfair expectations of men will dissolve. We'll perhaps not see a situation whereby the biggest killer of men in their 20s and 30s is suicide, because men have these unfair expectations upon them. So feminism works both ways. So yes, I am a feminist. I'm a feminist because I believe that men and women should be paid the same for the same job. I'm a feminist because I don't believe women and girls should be banned from certain activities because they are women or girls. I don't think women should ever be touched without their consent, and I don't think it's ever funny for that to happen. I don't think men should be responsible for paying the bills in the house. I think that should be based on other factors. I don't think that talking about feelings and your emotions should be considered feminine or emasculine. I don't believe that anybody should make sexually inappropriate comments to others and then find it a joke. I believe that there should be true equity between men and women, and that's why I am a feminist. I think if you look through that list, I think it's difficult to argue that maybe you're not, at least to some extent, a feminist as well. So what can we do? It's not enough for us just not to be sexist, just as if it's not enough for us just to be not racist. Just as we need to be anti-racist, we need to be anti-sexist. So what can we do? The single most important thing in my eyes is to call it out. If you see any misogynistic behavior or language in your friendship group, even if it's from your best friend, especially if it's from your best friend, you need to call it out. Misogynistic attitudes are not a joke. Rape is never a joke. Touching somebody without their consent or commenting on their appearance in an inappropriate way is never funny. Never funny for the people involved. You need to make sure that you call that out if you see it. In response to a lot of this conversation, a very popular answer has come to be not all men. And of course it's not all men. It is not saying that every single man is a sexist or is a misogynist. However, for so many women, they have to assume that it is all men. Because as we've seen, 97% of women have been a victim. If you get bitten by a dog, you become afraid of all dogs. So the Yes All Women hashtag is something that's been started. If you are not somebody who has indulged in or has been a part of sexist activity in the past, then you don't need to feel protective or defensive. You just need to keep doing what you're doing. But you need to recognize that for women, they must assume all men. And that's why it keep on happening. This is something that's particularly aimed at men, because, you know, we're talking to year 10, year 11 now. Some of you are big, some of you are imposing. And in light of the Sarah Everard conversation, this is a really good piece of advice. If you're ever walking behind a woman on the street, think about her and the experience that she's having. Cross the road, take your hood down. Don't make that woman feel uncomfortable. Women have said that for them it can be such a huge relief and can make their walk home or a potentially really nerve-wracking situation far, far better. Small sacrifice to make if you can make somebody feel a little bit more comfortable.
And on top of that, it's important to make sure that if you are being a feminist, if you are being anti-sexist, this needs to be intersectional. This means that you have to respect the rights of all women. So standing up against misogyny shouldn't be a leverage for your reputation. You should protect women that you don't find attractive. You should protect Black women. You should protect Asian women. You should protect trans women. You should protect gay, LGBT women. All women need to be protected from misogyny. You need to call out things for everyone, not just for those that you think that you should. And so that's why at St Katharine's, we are anti-racist, anti-sexist, anti-homophobic, anti-transphobic, anti-Islamophobic, because we believe in intersectionalism. We've made sure that the reporting system is a really big thing now. So if you don't feel comfortable filling in a slip, you can tell someone in person. You can email in to tellsomeone@skdrive.org, which is on the website, which is on the poster there. You can see all of the safeguarding leads that you can talk to. Lee Fenton, our school counsellor, is also on there who you can talk to if you need to. And we are also starting a mentoring system, which I know lots of people in sixth form have signed up to. And it's also open to year 11s and year 10s to mentor. So if you are interested in becoming a mentor, then you can email Miss Jefferson to say what group you would like to be representing and why you would like to be representing them. And you will be able to help people who are having issues, and they can email in and you can listen and be there, which I know I would have needed when I was lower down in the school. So yeah.
Yeah, so thank you all for listening, everybody. We really hope that some of the things that we've said have connected with you today. let's start the conversation. Let's keep it going. Let's make sure that this is a school which is not just not a place for where sexism can thrive or where racism can thrive or any other of those issues. This is a place where we actively challenge those attitudes, and together we can change the world. All right. Thank you so much. Have a great day. Thank you, Steph. And take care, everybody. Bye.